Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. If you have been watching my videos frequently, you might have heard me talk about the formation of an alternative club to the plantation owned by Master Zimbabwe from across Atlantic, and a new club being formed around the foundation or from the basics of BRICS. BRICS, Brazil, India, Russia, and so on, China. And here we have in this article that I'm going to cover for this video, we have the Foreign Minister of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, coming and telling us his perspective, or the Russian leadership's perspective, on what's going on with two worlds, forming two worlds. I've been talking about this for at least a year, at least from March 2022, when I first talked about it. I knew about it, or at least I assessed the situation as such about, 7 or 8 years ago already. So just because I said it last year, it doesn't mean that just last year it came into being, the situation. No, it's been a long time coming. It's just that in Ukraine, the Ukraine gave us the opportunity to really see it as it is. And I'm going to allow Lavrov, obviously, to say how he sees things with the West, and it's very dangerous the way he sees it, which is, as I mentioned before, the other side will create its own institutions, its own world, its own dynamics outside of this that it's already created by the United States, and they were all supposed to follow it. The problem was that they claimed they have, a rule-based society and a world order and all that. But when they needed something, they just ignored everything. Look at the sanctions, for instance, they imposed on whomever they don't like. They trampled all the rules, not all. They trampled some rules that they claim to champion. So let's see what's going on here. This article comes from Russia Today. I do this video and make this video because in the West, you will not hear what Lavrov said. And if you do hear what Lavrov said, you're going to have the authors of the article or the experts or analysts make you understand that actually what Lavrov says makes no sense whatsoever. So I'm going to quote what Lavrov said, and obviously you will make up your mind. I will give you my interpretation, and we go from there, right? So here it is. Russia Today, June 28, 2023. Russian Foreign Minister outlines, and I'm quoting, war of worlds. Moscow can no longer trust any deals with the US or its allies, Sergei Lavrov believes. However you take this as, Russia cannot trust them, they cannot trust Russia, the situation is bad either way. Even if you don't say, it's because of Russia. If it's because of Russia, let's go to the point. The problem is these guys do not trust one another again. Or at least the Russians. They shouldn't have done this probably in about 10 years, but hey, I think they had a lot of patience, just so you know. From 2014 or 13. Washington and its allies will never allow any nation to pursue a sovereign policy based on national interests if it conflicts with their own plans, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Wednesday. The ongoing standoff between Russia and the Western nation is and I'm quoting, war of worlds, involving incompatible approaches to international politics, he said. And I'm quoting now Lavrov. Should any other nation try and defend its national interest just as staunchly and decisively, the West would turn against it as well, end quote, the minister told the Grand Game show aired on Russia's Channel 1. The US and its allies still treat the threat posed by Russia to their plans as a quote-unquote tactical one, but believe that Moscow's victory would make this threat unacceptable. It's like someone who tries to break out of a plantation. Of course, other people will see it and say, what's going on? Let's follow the same path. Remember, an empire cannot show weakness. So You have to, every person who breaks the law or the rules has to be punished very crudely so others can see it and be used as an example. And now it's Russia's term, but Russia is not, unfortunately, let's put it this way, for the Americans, is not Yugoslavia or Iraq or Afghanistan or Libya. It's a different kind of animal. Western nations claim to defend a supposed rules-based order, end quote, the Russian minister said, adding that such an order is nothing but a dictate by Washington and its allies. And I'm quoting again, it is when they, the West, decide on which globalization system applies to the world, what are its mechanisms, the institutions, how trade disputes are resolved, end quote, Lavrov said. The top Russian diplomat also said Washington and its allies had easily exploited principles they had previously declared to be inviolable. And I'm quoting, the West has trampled on all its principles in an instant. Free trade, fair competition, presumption of innocence were all turned into weapons when they, the West, needed to push the Russian to punish the Russian Federation, end quote, he said. And I'm quoting again, when it comes to our former, and that's a good term used over here by Lavrov, when it comes to our former Western partners, though, we cannot rely on any agreements with them, including those of a legally binding nature, end quote, Lavrov maintained. The US and its allies have repeatedly bent the rules of the, and I'm quoting, order they were supposedly defending and neglected their commitments under agreements struck with Moscow, the minister stated. Washington and many Western nations recognized Kosovo's independence without any referendums on the basis of a unilateral declaration by Pristina, Lavrov said, adding that the same countries dismissed the results of the referendum in Crimea, arguing that the principle of the territorial integrity of Ukraine supposedly takes precedence in this particular case. So we are all equal, but some are more equal than others. I remember Animal Farm by George Orwell. Just read it if you didn't, exactly what I'm talking about. In February 2014, when the Ukrainian opposition broke their obligations under a deal struck with then-President Viktor Yanukovych, legitimate president of Ukraine, democratically elected, I must add, none of the Western guarantors of the agreement, and I'm quoting, lifted a finger, end quote, Lavrov said, adding that the list of guarantors include, now brace yourselves, France, Germany, and Poland at the time. Now the West is trying to pin all the blame on Russia, accusing it of unprovoked aggression, end quote, the minister said, describing this as nothing but an attempt to shift the responsibility from Washington and its allies. Well, this is not all the information that Lavrov could have put on the table regarding where they got. The problem here is Russia will not trust these guys again. Russia will form a different club, different global institutions, side by side with these guys, and when they get together somewhere on this planet, they will have some problems, or simply they will just be isolated, completely isolated. And obviously it's their fault, but at this point it doesn't really matter. The result is as it is. Something that maybe you are aware of is that Weasels, when they have a disagreement with someone and try to solve a problem, which in their mind is not solve it, is being right and done the way they want it, and I show to me because we all try to do that more or less, is how you do it. You, or at least the Weasels, try to pick and choose from the matter, from the issue. Okay, I'm going to use this, I'm going to make my point, and this is it. The other ones probably will do the same thing. Pick whatever they like. And then they say, oh, okay, this is two opposite views on our issue. What they need to do is sit down if they want to solve the problem and get from a chronology of events, from the very beginning, get each and every fact, evidence, event that would qualify and would be legitimate, valid for the conversation. And then you put it together and you can analyze each, but you have to have good faith when you do that. And unfortunately here we have big interest, and it's money and it's dominance, power, control, and they're not going to sit down and do that. It's all based on this, still based on this, and it's going to be like this because that's the way we're wired. I mean, yes, in appearance, we are all civilized and we do this and we follow rules and orders and laws and we're good and we still, pretend we're civilized. But at our, inner self, we are the same as what Jung said. How did you say? The animal ego or something like this? Something like this. The wild animal ego that we have inside. He didn't call it that way. I can't remember the term that he used to use. Not the wild, something like that. Anyway, we all have that, and we still have it. We just suppress it. And these guys are not suppressing it, but the media works with them in telling us, hey, we do a good thing. We bring democracy and freedom to Iraq. We're not going to plunder there. No. We're not going to do this. No. We're just going to bring freedom and democracy. Really. So anyway, my friends, that's the way it is. And Lavrov, at least you can hear what he says from his side, and these guys probably will interpret that as nonsense. Nonsense? I don't know. I mean, remember, Pristina said, okay, we're independent. Okay, you're recognized. Let's say you have a few lands or a few cities or a few states in certain countries and say, okay, we're independent. And the federal government would say, yes, okay, yeah, okay. Tell us where the border is and we're going to give you some money so you can have a good startup and all that, right? Okay, maybe these guys will do it to themselves, which could happen. And they will say, okay, we're going to make it in such a way that we're going to have this and you're going to have that. We don't want to associate ourselves with you. You are actually garbage to us. So if we are in the same country, you just bring down our country. So then you just say, okay, how about we do like this? You guys have your own country with nothing, and you stay over there, and we have our little thing. I'm expecting in this, not that I want, but it seems like it's going that way in an accelerated way, to a little situation here in this country, United States of America, and I've been saying this for about 15 years at least. It's going this way. You're going to have a lot of people wanting to secede and go their way. We'll see. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.